Welcome to the Lost in Disclosure. Tonight, we dive into dark water. Not the familiar darkness of a clouded sky or a moonless night, but the kind that lives beneath the surface, ancient, breathing, patient, the kind that watches back. Somewhere between the coast of Florida, the island of Bermuda, and the shores of Puerto Rico, there exists a stretch of ocean that has swallowed ships, silenced aircraft, and erased lives without explanation. No borders mark its edges, no signs warn of its presence. Yet for decades, it has carried a name that conjures both fascination and dread: the Bermuda Triangle. But this is not a story of sensationalism. This is not a tale built on fear alone. This is a descent, slow, deliberate, and measured, into one of the most enduring mysteries our world has ever known. A place where compasses spin without reason, where radio signals dissolve into static, and where the very fabric of space seems to thin like worn cloth. A place where the ocean does not simply take, it swallows. The triangle is not a monster. It is a question. And tonight, we will ask it softly. Chapter 1. The Sea That Swallowed Itself. The Atlantic Ocean is a vast and indifferent expanse. It stretches across 41 million square miles, connecting continents, cradling islands, and holding within its depths the memory of every ship that has ever crossed its surface. It is a highway for commerce, a graveyard for explorers, and a mirror reflecting both human ambition and human fragility. But there is one region, one small triangular pocket of water that seems to exist outside the rules. It has no official boundaries. The United States Board on Geographic Names does not recognize it. No government agency monitors it. No international law governs it. And yet, it is known, universally, instinctively. The Bermuda Triangle. The 3 points that define it are simple enough: Miami, Florida; San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda. Connect them, and you trace a shape roughly 500,000 square miles in size, a region where the Gulf Stream collides with the Sargasso Sea, where tropical storms gather strength, and where the ocean floor plunges into trenches deeper than mountains are tall. It is a place of beauty: crystal waters, coral reefs, sunlight fracturing into 1,000 shades of blue. And it is a place of silence, the kind of silence that comes after something vanishes. Over the past century, more than 1,000 lives have been lost here, dozens of aircraft, scores of vessels. Some disappeared in storms, yes, but others vanished on clear days, under calm skies, with no distress signal, no wreckage, no trace. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, a Navy cargo ship carrying 306 men, sailed into this region and was never seen again. No SOS, no debris, just gone. In 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, Flight 19, took off from Fort Lauderdale on a routine training mission. Within hours, they were lost. The rescue plane sent to find them also lost. In 1963, the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker carrying molten sulfur, radioed a routine position report and then disappeared with 39 crew members aboard. Not a life raft, not a body, nothing. These are not myths. These are documented events, official records, names carved into stone. And yet, no single explanation has ever accounted for them all. The ocean, it seems, does not need to justify itself. But we, those who watch from shore, who study the maps, who listen to the static where voices used to be, we cannot help but ask, why here? What is it about this particular stretch of water that seems to erase so completely? Is it the currents, powerful and unpredictable, capable of carrying wreckage far beyond search zones? Is it the weather, violent and sudden, turning calm seas into chaos in minutes? Is it human error, compounded by the disorienting effects of magnetic anomalies? Or is it something else, something we have not yet named? The triangle does not announce itself. There are no signs, no warnings, no shifts in the color of the water. Sailors pass through it daily without incident. Pilots fly over it without fear. And yet, every so often, the ocean breathes in and something is gone. It is this randomness that unsettles most. If the triangle were simply dangerous, prone to storms, riddled with reefs, thick with fog, we could map it, avoid it, understand it. But the disappearances follow no pattern. They occur in sunshine and shadow, in modern vessels and old, in experienced hands and in those of novices. The ocean here does not discriminate. It simply waits. And when we drift too close, when our instruments fail or our certainty falters, it opens not like a mouth, but like a question, and we fall through. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle is not a legend at all. It is a catalog of absences, a ledger of the missing, a map drawn not in ink, but in the empty spaces where names used to be. And as the sun sets over those waters tonight, casting long shadows across the waves, one truth remains. The sea does not owe us answers, but still we search. Chapter 2: Cartographers of the Unknown. Long before the name Bermuda Triangle entered our vocabulary, long before headlines screamed of ghost ships and phantom signals, sailors knew. They felt it. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, crossing the Atlantic on his first voyage to the New World, noted something strange in his logbook. His compass began to behave erratically, its needles swinging without reason, pointing away from true north. At night, he saw lights on the horizon, not the lights of land, but glowing orbs rising from the sea and vanishing into the sky. He wrote of it carefully, almost cautiously, as if naming it might summon something he did not wish to meet. His crew grew uneasy. Whispers spread below deck. The ocean, they said, was wrong here. Columbus dismissed their fears publicly, but in his private writings, the unease lingers. He could not explain the compass. He could not explain the lights. And as the days passed and the strange behaviors continued, Even he began to wonder if there were places on Earth where the old maps, the ones that marked the edges with "Here be dragons," were not so far from the truth. Centuries would pass before others began to notice the pattern. In 1840, the Rosalie, a French vessel, was found drifting near the Bahamas. Sails intact, cargo untouched. No living thing on the ship was a canary in a cage, singing softly in the silence. In 1872, the Mary Celeste, though not within the triangle's exact bounds, added to the growing mythos. Another ghost ship, another vanished crew, another silence that could not be explained. But it was in the 20th century that the disappearances became impossible to ignore. December 5th, 1945. Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station. A clear afternoon. 5 Avenger bombers, Flight 19, took off for a standard navigation exercise. 14 men, experienced pilots. A simple route. East, north, then back. 2 hours into the flight, the radio crackled. "We are not sure of our position. We cannot be sure just where we are." The voice belonged to Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight leader. His instruments, he said, were malfunctioning. His compass was spinning. He could not find the Florida coastline. Control attempted to guide them back, but the transmissions grew fragmented, confused. The pilots could not agree on direction. One thought they were over the Gulf of Mexico. Another believed they were far out over the Atlantic. The radio transmissions grew weaker. "We are entering whitewater. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are." And then silence. A rescue plane, a PBM Mariner, was dispatched immediately. It carried a crew of 13. It never returned. In total, 6 aircraft and 27 men vanished that day. The Navy launched one of the largest search and rescue operations in history. For 5 days, they scoured 250,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing. No wreckage, no oil slicks, no bodies, not a single piece of debris. The official report concluded, cause unknown. But the silence said more than any report could. In 1948, a DC-3 charter flight carrying 32 people vanished en route to Miami. The pilot's last transmission was calm, routine, confirming his position just 50 miles south of Florida. No distress signal followed. No wreckage was found. In 1950, another military aircraft disappeared, then a cargo plane, then a yacht, then a fishing vessel. By the 1960s, the pattern was undeniable. And in 1964, a writer named Vincent Gaddis published an article titled "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle." It was the first time the region was given a name, a shape, an identity. The legend, if it was ever a legend, became something else. It became a phenomenon. Journalists began compiling lists of disappearances. Documentaries were filmed. Books were written.
The triangle took on a life of its own, feeding on mystery, thriving in the gaps where explanation failed. But beneath the sensationalism, beneath the tabloid headlines and wild theories, the facts remained. Planes had vanished. Ships had disappeared. People had been erased from the record of the living, leaving behind only questions and coordinates. And no one, not the Navy, not the Coast Guard, not the scientists who studied the currents and the storms, could explain why it happened here, in this particular patch of ocean, more than anywhere else. The cartographers of the unknown did not mark the triangle with dragons. They marked it with absences. And as we trace those empty spaces on the map, we are left with a simple truth. Some places do not want to be known.
Chapter 3. Echoes Beneath the Waves. If the surface tells one story, the depths tell another. Beneath the Bermuda Triangle, the ocean floor is a landscape of extremes. Shallow reefs give way to sudden trenches, coral gardens collapse into canyons, and the sea itself moves in ways that seem almost deliberate, currents swirling, colliding, forming vortices that can trap debris or carry it thousands of miles away. For decades, scientists have sought to understand this region through the lens of physics, geology, and oceanography. They have deployed sonar arrays, analyzed magnetic data, and mapped the seafloor with precision unimaginable to sailors of Columbus's era. What they have found is both illuminating and unsettling. One of the most compelling natural explanations involves methane hydrates, crystalline structures of methane gas trapped in ice buried beneath the ocean floor. Under certain conditions, shifts in temperature, pressure, or seismic activity, these hydrates can destabilize, releasing massive plumes of gas into the water. When methane rises rapidly, it reduces the density of the water. Ships lose buoyancy. They sink, not gradually, but suddenly, as if the ocean beneath them has turned to air. This theory is not speculation. Methane eruptions have been documented in other parts of the world. Craters on the seafloor, some the size of city blocks, mark where gas has exploded upward, carving holes in the earth. In the Bermuda Triangle, the conditions are right. The continental shelf is riddled with methane deposits. The Gulf Stream flows with extraordinary force, capable of triggering shifts in pressure. And the region sits along fault lines where tectonic plates grind and shift. Could this explain the disappearances? Perhaps, but not all of them. Methane plumes would leave evidence: oil slicks, bubbles, disturbances on the surface, and yet many of the vanished vessels left no trace at all. Then there is the matter of the aircraft. Planes do not sink because the water loses density. They fall because something fails: engines, instruments, navigation systems. And here, the triangle offers another clue: magnetic anomalies. The Earth's magnetic field is not uniform. It shifts, bends, and fluctuates based on the composition of the crust below. In certain regions, particularly those rich in iron deposits or volcanic rock, compasses can behave erratically, swinging off course or spinning without reason. The Bermuda Triangle sits atop the Bermuda Rise, a geological feature rich in magnetic minerals. Pilots and sailors have reported compass malfunctions here for centuries. Without reliable instruments, navigation becomes guesswork. A plane flying east might veer north. A ship heading home might drift into open ocean. Disorientation in the middle of the sea is often fatal. But even this explanation has limits. Modern aircraft are equipped with GPS, inertial navigation systems, and redundant instruments. A compass malfunction should not be enough to down a plane, and yet they have fallen. Then there are the rogue waves, towering walls of water that rise without warning, even in calm seas. These waves, sometimes exceeding 100 feet in height, are caused by the convergence of multiple swells, amplified by deep ocean currents. In the Bermuda Triangle, the Gulf Stream moves with the force of a river within the ocean, capable of generating sudden, violent surges. A ship caught in the path of a rogue wave would have no time to react. It would be struck, capsized, and dragged under in seconds. This, too, is documented. Satellite data has captured rogue waves forming in the triangle. Survivors from other parts of the world have described the sheer terror of watching a mountain of water rise from nowhere. But again, no wreckage, no debris, no bodies. If ships were smashed by waves, pieces would float. Life jackets, fuel drums, wooden planks. The ocean gives back what it takes, eventually. But in the triangle, the ocean seems to keep. So we dig deeper. Sonar scans of the seafloor have revealed strange formations, geometric shapes, symmetrical structures, patterns that do not match known geology. Some researchers believe these are the remains of ancient civilizations. Others suggest underwater landslides or volcanic formations. But there is one discovery that defies easy categorization. In the 1960s, divers exploring the waters near Bimini Island found what appeared to be a road, a linear arrangement of rectangular stones, each weighing several tons, aligned with precision across the ocean floor. The Bimini Road, as it came to be known, stretches for nearly half a mile. Some of the stones bear tool marks. Others seem too uniform to be natural. Skeptics argue it is simply beach rock, a natural formation created by cementation of sand and shells. But believers point to the alignment, the spacing, the sheer improbability of randomness creating such order. If it is a road, who built it? And if it is not, why does it look like one? The ocean, it seems, is not content to hide only ships and planes. It hides its own history. And as we listen to the sonar echoes, as we trace the contours of trenches and ridges and underwater mountains, we are left with a question that science alone cannot answer. Is the Bermuda Triangle simply a place where natural forces converge with deadly efficiency? Or is there something beneath the waves that wants to remain hidden? The ocean does not speak, that it listens, and in the silence between the echoes, we begin to wonder if it hears us too.
Chapter 4. The Light Below. There are stories that do not make it into official reports, testimonies too strange to file, accounts dismissed as hallucination, exhaustion, or fear, but they persist. Pilots describe glowing orbs rising from the water. Sailors speak of lights beneath the hull, vast, circular, pulsing with a rhythm that feels almost biological. Fishermen tell of nights when the ocean itself seemed to glow, not with bioluminescence, but with something deeper, something that moved with intention. These are not isolated incidents. In 1963, the crew of a cargo ship passing through the triangle reported seeing a luminous disk roughly 200 feet in diameter gliding beneath their vessel. It moved silently, without disturbing the water, and then descended into the depths, leaving only a faint trail of phosphorescence. In 1972, a commercial pilot flying from Puerto Rico to Miami radioed to report a brilliant white light pacing his aircraft. It matched his speed, maneuvered with impossible precision, and then shot upward at a velocity no known aircraft could achieve. The radar confirmed the object. Air traffic control had no explanation. In 1980, a yacht crew described waking in the middle of the night to find their boat bathed in light. The source was below, a massive, glowing shape moving slowly beneath them, casting shadows on the surface. They said it felt like being watched. The light lingered for several minutes, and then, without sound or disturbance, it vanished. These accounts share common elements. The lights are silent, they move with purpose, and they seem aware of human presence. Some believe they are natural phenomena, bioluminescent plankton, underwater volcanic activity, or electrical discharges from methane vents. But bioluminescence does not rise from the ocean and ascend into the sky. Volcanic activity does not follow aircraft, and methane does not glow with the steady, deliberate rhythm described by witnesses. So, what are they? One theory, whispered in the corners of ufology and oceanography alike, suggests that the lights are not of this earth. That beneath the Bermuda Triangle there exists something observing us, something that has been here longer than we have. The idea is not new. Indigenous peoples of the Caribbean have long spoken of spirits in the water, entities that dwell in the deep places, that rise on certain nights, and that must not be disturbed. Modern researchers, less inclined toward myth, have begun to ask a different question. Could the ocean be home to intelligent life we have not yet recognized? Not fish, not whales, something else. There are places on Earth, deep hydrothermal vents, subterranean lakes, caverns sealed for millions of years, where life has evolved in complete isolation, adapting to conditions we once thought impossible. What if the deepest parts of the ocean harbor something similar? Something that has learned to navigate the dark, to communicate through light, to move through water as we move through air. It sounds like science fiction, but the ocean is 95% unexplored. We have better maps of Mars than we do of our own seafloor. And in the Bermuda Triangle, where the ocean plunges to depths exceeding 5 miles, where trenches carve into the earth like scars, where the pressure would crush a human body in seconds, what could live there, unseen? The lights suggest intelligence. They do not wander. They do not flicker randomly. They approach, observe, and retreat. They respond.
In 1977, a research vessel conducting sonar sweeps in the triangle detected an anomaly, a massive, moving object traveling at speeds far beyond any known marine animal. It appeared on multiple passes, always at the same depth, always moving with the same deliberate course. When the researchers attempted to track it, the object descended beyond the range of their instruments. It did not resurface. There are those who believe the Bermuda Triangle is not a place of disappearances at all. It is a place of contact, a meeting point between worlds. And the lights, the glowing orbs, the pulsing disks, the silent shapes beneath the surface are not threats. They are signals. From what? We do not know. To whom? We can only guess. But one thing is certain. They are watching, and perhaps they always have been.
Chapter 5. The Gate Hypothesis. What if the Bermuda Triangle is not simply a region of ocean? What if it is a threshold? For decades, researchers on the fringes of science have proposed a theory so bold, so unsettling, that it exists in the space between hypothesis and heresy. That the triangle is a gate. Not a gate in the physical sense, no arch of stone, no frame of metal, but a rift in the fabric of space itself, a place where the laws of physics bend, where dimensions overlap, and where passage between worlds becomes, however briefly, passable. It is a theory built on anomalies, on patterns too precise to ignore, and on the strange recurring reports of vessels and aircraft that seem not to sink or crash, but to vanish. Consider the evidence. In many disappearances, there is no wreckage, no debris field, no oil slick, nothing. If a ship sinks, pieces float. If a plane crashes into the ocean, it breaks apart. Fuel spreads, life jackets surface, bodies, tragically, are recovered. But in the triangle, the ocean often gives back nothing. As if what vanished did not fall, but passed through. This idea is not without precedent. Physicists have long theorized about the existence of wormholes, tunnels through space-time that could, in theory, connect distant points in the universe. Einstein's equations allow for them. Quantum mechanics hints at their possibility. But they remain theoretical. Or do they? In the 1970s, a researcher named Ivan Sanderson proposed that the Bermuda Triangle was one of 12 vile vortexes, regions around the globe where magnetic anomalies, gravitational distortions, and unexplained phenomena converged. These vortexes, he argued, were not random. They were distributed with geometric precision, forming a global grid. Sanderson believed these points were active, that they represented places where the Earth's electromagnetic field interacted with forces we do not yet understand. Others have gone further. They suggest that beneath the triangle, buried deep in the ocean floor, there exists a structure, ancient, vast, and not of human origin. A machine, or a gateway. The theory draws on several tantalizing pieces of evidence. First, there is the magnetic anomaly. The triangle sits atop one of the few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north align.
This creates a region of intense electromagnetic activity capable of interfering with instruments, distorting signals, and perhaps, if the conditions are right, warping space itself. Second, there are the underwater structures. The Bimini Road, mentioned earlier, is not the only anomaly. Sonar scans have detected pyramid-like formations off the coast of Cuba, submerged at depths that suggest they predate recorded human civilization. Some researchers believe these structures are remnants of Atlantis. Others suggest they are natural formations. But a third group asks a different question. What if they were built as markers or as anchors? Third, there are the lights, the glowing orbs, the disks beneath the water, the silent pulsing shapes that rise and descend without sound. What if they are not biological? What if they are technological? There are accounts, dismissed by mainstream science but documented nonetheless, of pilots who entered the triangle and experienced time distortion. In one famous case, a pilot flying from the Bahamas to Florida reported that his flight took far less time than it should have. He landed 30 minutes early, though his instruments showed he had flown at normal speed. The explanation offered was a strong tailwind, but the pilot insisted there was no wind. He described entering a strange, tunnel-like cloud formation, glowing at the edges, silent within, and emerging on the other side, to find that time had passed differently inside than outside. It sounds impossible, but time dilation is a documented phenomenon in physics. When objects move at speeds approaching light, time slows. When gravity is sufficiently intense, time bends. Could the triangle, for reasons we do not understand, create localized distortions in space-time? Could it be a place where the rules, the fundamental constants of our universe, momentarily shift? If so, what happens to those who pass through at the wrong moment? Do they crash? Or do they simply continue? Into where? We can only speculate. Some believe the gate leads to another dimension, a parallel Earth, perhaps, or a place entirely outside our understanding of reality. Others suggest it is a conduit used by non-human intelligence, that the lights are not observers, but travelers, that the triangle is not a trap, but a port, a place where ships from somewhere else enter our world, and where ours occasionally enter theirs. The idea is radical. It defies conventional science. It challenges the limits of the known. It asks us to accept that the universe is stranger than we have been taught. But as we look at the map, at the clustering of disappearances, at the reports of lights and anomalies, at the strange, almost deliberate precision with which the triangle operates, we are left with a question. What if the ocean is not hiding something? What if it is guarding something? A threshold between worlds. A gate open just wide enough for the curious and the lost to slip through. And if that is true, if the Bermuda Triangle is indeed a passage to somewhere else, then the question is not where the missing have gone. It is whether they can ever come back.
Chapter 6. The Watchers of the Deep. The ocean listens. We know this now. For decades, scientists have deployed hydrophones, underwater microphones, across the world's oceans, listening for the songs of whales, the rumble of earthquakes, the shifting of tectonic plates. But sometimes they hear something else. In 1997, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded a sound in the Pacific Ocean unlike anything they had heard before. It was loud enough to be detected by sensors thousands of miles apart. It rose in frequency, then faded, like the call of an immense creature. They called it the bloop. To this day, its source remains officially unidentified. The Bermuda Triangle has its own version. Researchers monitoring deep-sea acoustics in the region have recorded patterns, low-frequency pulses, rhythmic and deliberate, that do not match known geological or biological sources. They do not sound random. They sound like language or like a beacon. Some scientists dismiss these recordings as artifacts, echoes of distant shipping traffic or the grinding of underwater ice, but others are less certain because the patterns repeat, not constantly, but periodically, and always in the same locations, always in the deepest parts of the triangle. One researcher speaking off the record described it this way: "It's as if something down there is calling, not to us, but to something else." The idea that the ocean harbors intelligence is not new. But intelligence of what kind? If the lights are a signal, what are they signaling? If the sounds are a language, who is listening? There is a theory, speculative, yes, but grounded in observation, that the Bermuda Triangle is not simply a place of mystery, but a place of activity. That beneath the waves, something is operating. Consider the patterns. Disappearances in the triangle are not constant. They cluster. Years will pass with no incidents, and then suddenly within weeks, multiple vessels will vanish, as if something awakes or arrives. In the 1970s, a declassified Navy report described an incident in which a submarine conducting routine maneuvers in the triangle detected a massive sonar contact moving at speeds exceeding 150 knots, faster than any submarine in the world. The contact descended rapidly, beyond the crushed depth of any known vessel, and then disappeared from sensors entirely. The report concluded it was a malfunction, but the crew insisted otherwise. They said they heard it, a low resonant hum that vibrated through the hull, and then silence. Years later, a similar account surfaced from a civilian research vessel. They had been mapping the ocean floor when their sonar detected a structure, large, symmetrical, and seemingly artificial, resting at a depth of over 12,000 feet. When they attempted to capture detailed images, their instruments malfunctioned. All of them, simultaneously. By the time they restored functionality, the structure was gone. Not buried, not moved by currents, just absent. These accounts, dismissed by mainstream science as equipment failure or misidentification, form a troubling pattern when placed side by side. It suggests that whatever exists in the triangle is not passive. It reacts, it hides, and it watches. The Bimini Road, the underwater pyramids, the acoustic signals, the lights. They are not isolated phenomena. They are pieces of a larger picture, a picture we are only beginning to see. And at the center of that picture is a question we have been avoiding. What if humanity is not the only intelligence on this planet? What if the ocean, vast, ancient, unexplored, is home to something that predates us? Something that has watched civilizations rise and fall? Something that remains patient and silent in the depths we cannot reach? The Bermuda Triangle in this context is not an anomaly. It is a contact zone, a place where two worlds, ours and theirs, come close enough to touch. And when we stray too near, when our instruments fail, and our compasses spin and the water beneath us glows with light we cannot name, we are being seen by watchers who have always been there and who perhaps always will be.
Chapter 7. Between Myth and Physics. There is a tension at the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, a tug of war between what we can measure and what we feel, between the data and the dread. Science offers explanations: methane plumes, magnetic anomalies, rogue waves, human error, equipment failure, coincidence. And these explanations are not wrong. They account for some of the disappearances, perhaps even most of them, but not all. And it is in that gap between the explained and the inexplicable that the mystery lives. Dr. Carl Krushelnicki, a scientist and skeptic, has argued that the Bermuda Triangle is no more dangerous than any other heavily trafficked region of ocean. He points to statistics showing that the number of incidents in the triangle is proportionate to the volume of traffic passing through it. In other words, more ships and planes mean more accidents. Nothing supernatural required. The United States Coast Guard agrees. In official statements, they have consistently downplayed the triangle's reputation, attributing losses to natural causes and human error. The sea, they remind us, is always dangerous. And they are right. The ocean is a hostile environment. Storms can rise in minutes. Waves can capsize even modern vessels. Navigation errors in the vastness of open water can be fatal. But the skeptics' arguments, as sound as they are, cannot fully account for the precision of some disappearances. The lack of wreckage, the absence of distress signals, the reports of lights and time distortions, the strange, recurring sensation felt by sailors and pilots alike that the triangle is not simply dangerous, it is aware. This is where science falters, not because it is wrong, but because it is incomplete. The universe, after all, does not owe us comprehensibility. There are phenomena, quantum entanglement, dark matter, the accelerating expansion of space that defy intuition, that challenge the limits of language, that exist in a realm where logic alone cannot guide us. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is one of these phenomena, a place where the ordinary rules are almost right, but not quite. Consider the eyewitness accounts. hundreds of them, spanning decades, from pilots, sailors, fishermen, and passengers. They describe the same things: disorientation, instrument failure, glowing lights, time distortions. Are they all mistaken? Are they all lying? Or are they describing something real, something that exists outside the boundaries of our current understanding? The truth, as it often does, likely lies somewhere in between. The Bermuda Triangle is both myth and reality. It is a place where natural forces converge with deadly efficiency. And it is also a place where something else may be at work, something we do not yet have the tools to measure or the courage to name. Because to name it would be to admit that the world is larger than we thought, that the ocean holds secrets we are not yet ready to understand, that there are places on this earth where the known gives way to the unknown, and that we, despite all our technology, all our science, all our certainty, are still, in the end, explorers standing at the edge of a dark sea, wondering what lies beneath.
Chapter 8. The Ocean Remembers. And so we return to where we began, to the slow roll of waves, to the whisper of storms, to the ancient pull of a place that does not explain itself. The Bermuda Triangle is not a monster. It is not a portal, not a graveyard, not a gate. Or perhaps it is all of these things. Perhaps it is a mirror, reflecting back to us our need for answers, our fear of the unknown, our fascination with the spaces where certainty dissolves. We have mapped the stars. We have split the atom. We have walked on the moon. And yet the ocean, covering 70% of our planet, remains largely a mystery. We do not know what lives in its deepest trenches. We do not know what signals pulse through its darkness. We do not know what ancient structures lie buried beneath its floor. And we do not know, not truly, why some who enter the Bermuda Triangle do not return. But the ocean knows. It remembers every ship that has crossed its surface, every life that has been lost, every question that has been asked without answer. And it keeps those memories close in the depths where light does not reach. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps we are not meant to understand every mystery. Perhaps some places are meant to remain questions, to remind us that the world is not fully tamed, that there are still frontiers, still unknowns, still places where we can stand at the edge and feel, however briefly, the same awe and terror our ancestors felt when they looked out at the horizon and wondered what lay beyond. The Bermuda Triangle is one of those places. And whether it is a natural phenomenon, a gateway to another dimension, or a contact zone with non-human intelligence, it does not matter, because the mystery itself is the truth. The not knowing is the answer. And as long as there are oceans, as long as there are depths we have not explored, as long as there are lights beneath the waves and signals in the dark, there will be places like this. Places that do not yield, places that watch and wait. Thank you for drifting with us tonight into the dark water, into the unknown, into the space where questions live without answers. The Bermuda Triangle is not a place you can visit and leave unchanged. It lingers in the back of your mind, in the corner of your eye. A reminder that the world is stranger than we allow ourselves to believe. If this story spoke to you, if it stirred something deep and quiet and curious, we invite you to share it, to leave your thoughts below, to tell us what you think lies beneath those waves. And if you wish to journey with us again, to other mysteries, other depths, other places where the known gives way to wonder, stay. The ocean is vast, and we have only just begun to listen. Until then, drift gently, and remember, the ocean does not owe us answers, but it will always, always keep its secrets.